Hey guys, Gaston with Rough Country. Today we're going to be installing our 3-inch lift kit on this 2019 Toyota 4Runner. Now, the kit includes replacement upper control arms to make sure our ball joint angle is optimal. We also have our lifted M1 struts and shocks, and of course, our lifted rear coils. Now all this comes together to both lift and level your 4Runner. Not only that, it's going to allow us to run a larger tire. Let's get it on the lift and install the lift. With the factory wheel and tire removed, we can take a look and see what we're working with. And here we've got our factory strut. Now we're replacing the upper control arm with the Rough Country aluminum upper control arm. It's designed with a ball joint angle that is optimal for the 3 inches of lift. And speaking of the 3 inches of lift, we're replacing the factory strut with our M1 monotube lifted strut. That's going to give us our 3 inches of lift in the front. Now these are the only two components that we're required to change. We're going to remove factory strut, we're going to remove the factory control arm. Before we do that, we need to unbolt our sway bar link, various brackets, and our tie rod. Next we'll remove the tie rod, take this cotter pin out. And now we'll remove the upper ball joint. All right, now we're ready to remove the factory strut. We've got 3 14mm nuts on top, a 19mm bolt through the bottom. We'll get those removed. We'll make sure that our sway bar is up and out of the way. That way we can pull the strut out and drop it straight down. Let's go. All right, now we're ready to remove the factory upper control arm. We're going to loosen this nut, and then the upper control arm bolt is one long bolt that goes all the way through both bushings. So we're going to need to bend the factory pinch weld slightly so that we can slide that bolt all the way out and remove this upper control arm. Of course, we'll bend this back. Now we'll go ahead and install our Rough Country upper control arm. Then we'll get our M1 lifted strut, put it in place, and button up everything that we disassembled. Now these control arms have our optional red powder coat, and it is easy to see that that ball joint angle is perfected for the 3-inch ride height. All right, we're going to leave this loose so we have plenty of movement in it. Once we get everything reassembled, we'll come back and torque it down. They're a monotube shock and strut, and they're going to produce one of the best rides you can get in a lifted vehicle. We're good. Now we just need to move our brake union back in place, bolt it back up, replace our splash shields, and that's going to finish the front. This looks 100 times better under here, and I can't wait to see just how much better it rides and performs. All right, here we are in the rear. We're ready to install our lifted coils as well as our M1 shocks. Before we do that, we're going to need to disconnect our sway bar link as well as our factory shock upper and lower. We also need to disconnect a bracket for the brake lines on the driver's side and the ABS lines on the passenger side. I'm gonna put our jack stance underneath the axle. We'll lift the 4Runner up, give us some room to remove those factory coils. We'll get those swapped out, then we'll bring the 4Runner down, replace the shocks, then reconnect our sway bar links and those brackets. Let's get going. I'm going to go ahead and also disconnect the track bar at the axle. That way the axle can travel down further. You guys can see exactly what I'm doing when I replace these coils. All right, I've transferred the factory spring isolator, the upper one, to the rough country coil. Now we're ready to insert it. You're going to want to rotate the coil until the pigtail makes contact, just like that. It's got to stop here. That's where it needs to sit. This kit's going to give your 4Runner more ground clearance off-road, which means you can get to more places. And on-road, it's going to give you an aggressive stance and great looks. And that completes the installation of our 3-inch lift on our 2019 Toyota 4Runner. As you can see, installation is fairly straightforward, but if you feel like it's something you can't handle, we've got a dealership network across the country that can take care of it for you. Be sure to check them and the kit out today at roughcountry.com.